Shire said, "The day has come, your marriage has been arranged. Your husband is old, but he's rich enough, and that is what matters." Burning with determination, Mariana reached for the poison she still carried in her snuff box. Mayana reached for the poison she still carried in her snuff box. That is something which has really got me feeling about this entire episode which I'm trying to bring you in face to face. Hello viewers, I'm Devasish Ray in Washington DC. Our guest today is Maryam. Maryam, what's your last name? Kyle. Maryam Kyle, who has written a book which is titled Love of a Son. What would you do if you've been abused? What would you do if you were sexually abused? What would you do if your son was taken away from you at a very young age? We will try to probe these answers with our guest today. Thank you so much for joining us on TV Asia. You know, it's my pleasure. See, when I was reading this book, I sort of read this book in one sitting. I am not ashamed to say there was a few tears which I shed. And of course, I gave this to my friends and they had the equal reaction. How difficult was it for your grandmother to be told that you have to get remarried and you don't have a choice?
My grandmother was a very sad soul. I remember her quiet physique, like, passing from room to room, and a very sad smile. I loved her very much. And she had a terrible life, a very terrible life. She was very young. She was 15 years old when she was married to my grandfather. My grandfather was the head of his tribe. Actually, he saw my grandmother, a glimpse of her, part of her face, because she was wearing a long skirt. And he already had wives, but he really wanted to marry her. And he sent his missionaries people for her hand, but she was already engaged, and so that was an obstacle. But the man was killed, and then he married her, and but he was very nice to her. He was very nice. They had beautiful 3 daughters and 1 son, which was my father. And he died during the English and British and Afghan war. He got a wound in his eye, then he died of his wound. He was a general. And after that, my grandmother's life was like going down the hill. It was very difficult for her, because if she would have married this man, so she had to leave her kids at home with her stepson. And she had no other choice but to, take her life. She wanted.
Tell me, Maryam, obviously as a woman, I am absolutely convinced, at least during the period which reflects the book, Afghanistan was no place for a woman. You were not even treated like second-class citizen. You were treated like livestock. Even livestock get a better life, because your grandmother, who has your same name, she lost her 3 daughters. And you have a suspicion that they were killed by who?
She had 3 beautiful girls, and we suspected, and we have, like my father and my mother used to say that maybe my uncle might poison them. Yeah, maybe his people, maybe, not only him, but, yes.
So, when you obviously these stories which you have heard about your grandmother, these stories have percolated down through generations. Your father may have said something, your mother may have, who has a lot of influence in your life, your mother, and I'll come to that a little later. But let's refocus on the tribal culture in Afghanistan, because when we talk, in today's world, we talk about Islam, but the Sharia. But it's not very true when the Afghanis, they don't basically go by the Sharia, they go by their own tribal laws, which is very convenient. Can you give our viewers an examples of how that tribal law is enforced and how it has affected you?
The tribal law is called the Pashtun code, the Pashtun Wali. The code of Pashtun Wali means like it goes according to the Afghan law, the people that who speaks the language, and it's very strict. So basically, a woman is when first of all, when a girl is born to the family is a shame, again, because I should be a boy. When she is born and then she is being protected by the father or the parents in a very young age, she's been given already to somebody, to another man. And when she moves to his home and she's part of the property of that household, she has no right whatsoever up till today. Up till as we are talking as today, that's the way that Pashtun woman lives back in Afghanistan. And it's very strict, and they are very, very, very adamant when it comes to Pashtun Wali. It comes to Pashtun code. It comes to that they have to obey that law. The law means like, a man has to, he is the king of his home, and he makes the orders, and a woman has to take care of the children, and that's it.
See, the reason why I asked you, because there is a particular reference which I started with, the passage from your book. This so infuriated your uncle that he ordered that your grandmother be stoned to death. And that's a very violent death. And your book also says that it's a very slow process. It's like a cheerleading squad, which basically puts the poor woman waist deep into a hole covered with mud, and they slowly start hitting them with pebbles, if I'm not mistaken. And they really enjoy it, and they don't want to kill her soon. They want her to suffer. Why do you think that the women in Afghanistan have not rebelled?
Why? Because a lack of education. And other part of the world, like United States, it took many years, like since the 20s, the women, they start moving. So they got some rights. But in Afghanistan, because of this strict law of Pashtun Walis, like most women in the rural areas of Afghanistan, like in Paktia, they don't leave their home. They leave only if they go to a funeral. And that if they go. So they are left in one household and they are married to another household. They never leave the house. They don't know anything about the outside world. So that's why if education comes, definitely women will stand up. They will stand up for their rights. They will rebel. They will fight. And this is a time for Afghanistan to wake up. For us as an Afghan woman, we have to do, we are obligated, we have to do something to help our sisters back home.
Well, viewers, the story did not had a bad ending. I mean, at least temporary, because your father, her father, basically left the military academy which he was there. He rode on horseback all the way and was able to save his mother by simply pleading with his uncle that I will give up my inheritance, but I will leave the place with my sister and with my mother, but please forgive her, or for that matter, pardon her life. What a travesty of justice in other terms. We are going to take a quick break and we should be right back.